Hello, here I am. Okay, great. It went live. So I'm not sure if anyone's here or not. Okay, great. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm so sorry. I was having technical difficulties, but it's working now, so I'm happy. Okay. So let me see. It says, yes, it is working. Let me send out an email real quick, just letting everyone know that it's working, I guess, or it doesn't really matter. Okay, so happy Wednesday and welcome to Wednesday Workshops with Whitney. I am your host, Whitney. So sorry about the delay, but here we are. Great. Okay, so during this week's Wednesday Workshops with Whitney, we will be discussing 5 simple tips to help manage social anxiety after leaving lockdown. And just a reminder, if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. That way you will be alerted when new videos are coming around. Okay. Okay, great. All right, so sorry, one second. That's okay. All right. Okay, great. All right, so before we begin, we will be doing our icebreaker. So I'm going to ask us a question, and when you come up with your answer, if you wouldn't mind, if you'd like to share, which I always appreciate, if you could type into the chat box your response. Then after that, we'll move on to our main topic. All right, so if you had to delete all but 3 apps from your smartphone, which ones would you keep? So if you had to delete all apps on your phone, like I don't think everyone always has an iPhone, but basically an application would be something like your mail, or sometimes people have Facebook, or photos, or camera, or your messages, or your phone, so you can make phone calls, or your banking information, or all different types of stuff. So if you had to delete all apps, but you could keep 3, which 3 would you keep? I'll give you a minute to think about that. Okay, so let's see. All right, Modensi, thank you. Great. All right, so you're saying you would keep Google, banking, and YouTube. Okay, I like that. That's great. Definitely. Does anyone else want to share? If they had to delete all apps on their phone, but they could keep 3, which 3 would they keep? I guess I'm still figuring mine out. I guess I got to look at mine. Okay, well, I guess for my 3, I would keep my messages app, so I could text message people still, my email, so I could email people still, and my what's I gonna say? I guess one of my games. Like, I like playing games on my phone because then I could do that when I'm bored or waiting for something. Cool. Well, thank you for participating. All right, so now on to our main topic. I'm going to read a combination of two articles titled 5 Simple Tips to Help Manage Social Anxiety After Leaving Lockdown and Social Anxiety, How to Cope Following COVID-19. What is so interesting about these two articles is that the first article is based out of the United States and the second article is based out of the United Kingdom. Both articles focus on coping and how to manage social anxiety post COVID restrictions or as restrictions have eased. So we will discuss what we think about these articles. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please don't hesitate to type it out in the chat box. Okay, great. All right. Okay, so here we go. All right. So I'm going to read the beginning part of the social anxiety, how to cope following COVID-19, because I like that part of that article better, and that's the UK one. And then we'll go through the 5 coping strategies on each article. Okay. Clinical psychologist Dr. Laura Keyes explains what social anxiety is and offers 5 practical tips to help us to cope following the coronavirus pandemic. As people, we are wired to connect, but some with social anxiety live with the persistent and intense fear of embarrassment, humiliation, or rejection from others. As many as 12% of us may experience this in our lifetime, often with depression, panic, generalized anxiety, post-traumatic stress, and substance misuse as a coping strategy. People with social anxiety tend to endure thoughts of being judged negatively by others before, during, and after social interactions. So that basically means that they see social interactions as a negative thing. That if they go out of the house and they have to interact with other people, they think that they're going to be judged and that it's going to be a whole negative experience, which leads them to fear leaving the house sometimes. Okay. There is usually a focus inward on one's own speech and how they come across with discomfort and wanting to avoid social contact. Social anxiety can negatively impact relationships, school and work performance, limit hobbies outside the home, and can lead to a sense of shame and low self-esteem. So right there, she defined what social anxiety is, if you were to be diagnosed with it. The most extreme is called agoraphobia, and that is the fear of social situations to the point where you do not leave your house or you rarely leave your house. During the COVID-19 pandemic, many people have felt isolated, worried about finances, health, access to food and supplies, and some have experienced illness and loss. We have all had to change our behavior, been advised to socially distance from people outside of our household, and asked to wear masks when in public spaces. As we re-enter society with a new normal, some of us will feel out of practice socializing and will just need opportunities to practice and go easy on ourselves as we adjust. Some will need to transition from virtual to in-person communication with the challenges that come along with hearing and being understood wearing masks and not being able to read facial expressions fully or lip read. What's so interesting is I didn't even think about that. I remember just since the beginning of the pandemic, or when all of a sudden it was like, stay 6 feet or more away from other people, how I worried about how that was going to affect our society. Because especially where I live in New Orleans, and when I moved down here, one of the things I fell in love with was how friendly people were. How someone on the side of the street would be like, "Hi, how are you?" And they genuinely care about you and how you responded. With the whole pandemic, now it's like, you know, you may walk down the street and you see someone walking towards you and you want to cross the street or turn around and go the opposite direction because you're worried that maybe they're sick and they're going to give you COVID or something. So it definitely, I feel like, has made a big mark on how we feel about being close to other people. But what does that mean for those who are socially anxious? Despite craving social connection like anyone else, the encouraged avoidance of others may have been a welcome relief initially. But avoiding others and spending more time alone for longer periods of time will have led to feeling out of practice communicating and difficulty adjusting, particularly if making phone and video calls was so challenging that this was also avoided during lockdown. While we are all having to practice communicating slightly different, and PPE makes this harder, or sometimes wearing masks or having plastic coverings, with this comes a heightened sense of uncertainty in social interaction, which may feel harder for socially anxious people. Because of the nature of COVID-19, there is increased anxiety and suspicion of others. But combine this with thoughts of being judged for our opinions, decisions, and behavior, and the perceived threat from others increases. So, without having a whole lot of social anxiety, just talking about, you know, thinking about these social situations that we weren't supposed to be in. And it was like, you see someone, you got to be 6 feet away. But think about if you were, and maybe you are someone who's already had a fear of judgment from being in social situations. And now you're so used to being in the COVID era of not having to deal with people really in general. How are we going to kind of cope with going back to some sort of new normal? It might not be the way it was because we still have to wear masks and we still aren't supposed to be around a whole lot of people. But how are we supposed to kind of go back to being able to be around people without fearing that something bad is going to happen or that we're going to get sick? So I thought that this was a really important topic to talk about. So from there, we'll go through the 5. I guess we can stick to those 5. Or I'll go kind of back and forth. All right, so on the article that was based in the United States, the first tip is to ease back into it. For those who live with social anxiety, Dr. Shapiro, who is a psychiatrist with community psychiatry, says to slowly enter into a social life. This will help them to ease into situations that were previously uncomfortable. As quarantine ends, the auto avoidance will also end, necessitating their introduction back into situations they deeply fear. That's not a leap anyone should take all at once. Start by connecting with those in your closest inner circle. That circle is your comfort space and people you feel most like yourself with and can be honest with and who you trust. When you're ready, she suggests reaching out to people you enjoy being with but may feel nervous around and need warming up to. Eventually, expand your circle to include people and situations that make you anxious. The idea is to give yourself a little taste of something that makes you anxious and then wait for the anxiety to calm down. Then increase your exposure a little more and wait for the anxiety to come down. If you're not ready to see people face to face, setting a goal to talk with a different person each day over the phone or through video chat. I like that because we're all going to be feeling different about how much exposure we might want socially. But I like the idea that, okay, well, maybe I'll email this person today and somebody else tomorrow. And then you kind of just get used to socializing again. I think it's nice that it doesn't have to be all face-to-face necessarily. After you've had a week of calling a friend a day, why not go further and organize a group call with a few friends to get used to group interaction? If you feel ready, why not get a date on the calendar for a socially distanced walk with a friend? Okay. So that was number 1 for the United States. Number 1 for the UK is maintain social connections. Try to remember that we as a society have been through traumatic and challenging times, and we all risk rejection and judgment every time we connect and communicate with others. Do the best you can to connect in a way that feels realistic and safe for you, and start small. For example, connect on social media. Make small talk with a shop assistant. Meet a friend for a socially distanced chat or walk. So what's cool is within that, they both talked about a socially distanced chat or a walk. Kind of seems like kind of also taking it slow. Okay, so number 2 for US is visualize situations in your head. And also what I want you to think about is, how about with yourself? What do you feel has been helpful for you if you've started to socialize a bit more? Or if any of this that I'm talking about kind of resonates with you, do you think that maybe you'd enjoy making, phone calls to different people or doing a group chat? Or, I just want you to kind of think about what has been working for you, or what you think might work, or what you'd like to do. All right, so number 2, visualize situations in your head. Shapiro recommends preparing for upcoming social events by role-playing specific worries or concerns with someone you trust on paper or in your head. Belowski elaborates by explaining if you have an upcoming walk planned with a friend or are about to meet them at the park, try to mentally plan your meetup and how you'd like it to go. I think pre-planning can always be good. Visualize your friend when you see them and what you will say. It may be awkward at first, especially as we are not able to hug or touch our friends, but you will soon adapt to the new way of greeting a loved one. Another strategy Shapiro suggests is to challenge internal negative thought patterns with a reversal thought, either before or during anxiety-provoking situations. For example, if you're going to an outing where you'll be around new people, she says, instead of automatically thinking, these people won't like me or will make fun of me, try, they've been stuck inside for months just like me. We'll trade stories. They will like me and I'll probably find one new friend. Okay, so I think that's some great advice of kind of like role playing, because I think that sometimes in our heads will be negative and we'll be like, this is going to be really bad. But sometimes it's good to think about, well, what's the worst case scenario? Okay, maybe somebody doesn't like me. So what? You don't have to stay very long. And with the pandemic, that kind of gives you an excuse to be like, well, I got to go. So, yeah. All right. And then for number 2 with the UK, notice the negative thoughts and let them pass. We have evolved to focus on behaviors and thoughts that help protect us, though it cannot differentiate real from imagined threats. Notice the thoughts and thank them for showing up, but note that there is no danger here. Remember that we can't know what others are thinking unless we ask. Yeah, no one that I know can read minds. The way you feel is not the way in which you are perceived by others. Try to imagine placing the judgmental thoughts on leaves on a gently flowing stream. Okay, so I like how that connected with our other one where we're going to have negative thoughts sometimes. We're going to be kind of worried about how other people view us. And that's okay. That's normal to have negative thoughts, but we don't have to hold on to them. I like what she said with imagine these negative thoughts, put them on a leaf and let them flow down the river. So let them go. Okay. All right. Number 3, with the US. Allow yourself to be scared. Even if it seems like everyone around you isn't worried or scared to get back into the world, Shapiro says it's acceptable to have your own reaction and anxieties about the situation. And everyone, I'm sure most people are feeling some sort of discomfort or anxiety over getting back into more social situations or maybe going back to work in person versus virtually or digitally or at home. Remember, no one has ever been through anything like this in the modern world, so no one really knows how to do it right. Even the experts don't have all the answers, so it's normal to have your own uncertainty and doubts. Like she says, she's right. We haven't really had anything like this since the flu of 1917, and most of the people that were alive during then have passed. We're all kind of in this together, and like she said, the experts are still figuring things out. This is the first time this type of virus or this particular virus has ever been out. So we're all kind of learning to walk again. Socialize at your own comfort level. You're not obligated to do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable and puts you at risk. There are a lot of different factors that will affect when you feel is the best time to start venturing out. Think about your age, your health history, your quarantine situations, and even your own anxiety when taking that next step outside, Shapiro said. Feelings of safety in the world validate some of our anxieties. There is so much unknown about what is ultimately safe, and some of our fears about being out in the world are actually warranted, or they make sense. So it's a good idea to be thoughtful about who you are engaging with socially and understand if they are or are not on the same page as you are. So you may want to socialize with someone who's your friend, but it's also important to know, are they socializing with a lot of people or with people, a couple of people? Because if you want to start socializing a little bit more with people, it is important to kind of know how much they're socializing as well, because you might not want to socialize with people that maybe are socializing with a lot more people, because that might be risky for you, especially if you have a health history. So just kind of being cautious in general. Share your feelings of panic and fear over social plans with those who are closest to you. You may feel slightly embarrassed about these feelings, especially if you are usually the life and soul of the party, but there's no shame in feeling slightly overwhelmed by the changes, especially after so much time spent alone. I can guarantee that at least one of your friends will be going through the same thing and will be glad and relieved that you have spoken about it. So just like that reminds me of like being back in school and how the teacher will be like, there's no stupid questions. But sometimes you're nervous about your response because you think it's going to be wrong or dumb. But in my situations in the past, when I've shared something, a lot of times other people in the class were wondering the same thing. So it is good. And it's important to be able to talk about your feelings and your fears and your what makes you anxious with people that you care about. Okay. So, number 3 with the UK is practice self-compassion. If you're not feeling comfortable enough to engage socially yet, that's okay. Some people may be feeling more afraid than others of accepting social invitations. Go easy and talk to yourself kindly as you would do a friend who's struggling. So, with self-compassion, don't be so hard on yourself. We all should love ourselves and accept ourselves. And if you are feeling too anxious about it, that's okay. We don't need to judge ourselves over that. Okay. Number 4 with the US is practice self-care. Prioritizing your physical health, learning breathing exercises, developing self-reflective practices like therapy and journaling, and talking to friends and families about your worries are all practical parts of anxiety management, says Ann Halt. While we don't have a playbook, we can rely on coming back to ourselves and the present moment and making sure we have reliable spaces in our lives so we can navigate the spaces that feel out of control or out of our control. Ann Holt believes that people who work proactively on their mental health are better equipped to handle the unknowns. It's like doing emotional push-ups. So when things get hard in the world, we have these core tools we can come back to that make us feel grounded. She compares going back into the world like participating in an obstacle course that you didn't get to see in advance. You might not be able to prepare for everything you're going to encounter, but you can get your body and mind ready to handle difficult things beforehand. This will put you in a better position to navigate anything that comes your way. So, I think that is very important, practicing self-care. So, I want you to think about, what are your coping skills? What are activities that you enjoy doing that make you feel relaxed or less stressed out? They talked a little bit about breathing exercise, maybe just physical exercise, journaling, talking to someone. I know for me, I like doing any sort of art projects because sometimes if I'm making art, I'm not thinking about other things that are happening. Maybe sometimes people like watching, it's funny, when I'm depressed, I like watching happy movies. But I have a family member who, when they're depressed, they like horror movies. So it's really something that is personal to you. If anyone would like to share maybe something that makes them feel good. Sometimes people like cooking or even cleaning. So there are a lot of different types of coping skills. And I think it's nice to share them because sometimes someone might have a coping skill that you haven't heard of, or something that you might like to use in your life. Okay, so you can put that in the chat box if you'd like. Number 4 for the UK is build your resilience. Try to limit watching or reading the news. Find an enjoyable form of exercise, create a daily routine, prioritize sleep, and cut off caffeine, as this can trigger symptoms mimicking anxiety. Oh, Liz, she said, I watch happy movies too. That's great. I know, because it kind of takes you away, or sometimes like coming of age movies sometimes just brings you back to like a different part of your life that maybe was easier or simpler. Modensi said creating things. Yes, I know that you like doing a lot of kind of arts and crafty type stuff as well. So that's really great. I think it is important to limit your news. Of course, we want to know what's going on, and it is important to know what's going on. But also, if we're constantly looking at news, or they call it kind of doom scrolling, you can kind of put yourself in a panic. And what's important about the news is knowing where you're getting your news sources from. A lot of news can be subjective or opinion-based. Sometimes people get their news from Twitter or Facebook, which are social media sites. some of the news might be accurate, but most of it is somebody putting their opinion out there. If you want to find news that's less opinion based, they say to look at kind of like government television. Sometimes like NPR, which is National Public Broadcasting, is kind of more in the middle. Or if you want to look at your state government's website for, new and upcoming COVID information, or even the CDC, which is the Center for Disease and Control Prevention. They have things that are written by scientists, so it's more fact-based. Okay. And number 5 on both of these is to seek help if needed or get professional help. If you or someone you know, oh, Liz, I listen to NPR. So do I. If you've tried all that you can to assimilate back into some form of socializing, but anxiety and panic are interfering with your ability to do so, it may be time to reach out to a mental health professional. So on here it says, search the Anxiety and Depression Association of America for a licensed mental health professional who specializes in anxiety and related disorders. There's nothing wrong with seeking help if you feel like you need help. Absolutely. So that's a good resource, is to search the Anxiety and Depression Association of America. Also, if you're looking for a therapist, Psychology Today, if you Google Psychology Today, you can enter in what type of health insurance you have. And also, we have a helpline at HHCD. I should put I'm gonna have to put the number up somewhere. But if you're interested in the helpline or talking to one of our therapists, contact your resident service coordinator, or you can send me a message and I'll connect you with someone. Because what's happening now, I think it's going to take a while for things to kind of get back to some sort of normal. And we're all in this together. So if you need help, feel free to reach out. Okay, so what did y'all think about the articles? I kind of liked how they were similar but different at the same time. I thought that was kind of cool. Oh, thank you, Steve. Steve put the helpline down there, and it's 312-858-7420. So that is our helpline. If you are feeling, depressed, like maybe you need someone to talk to or you need some advice. And if it's beyond that, our help desk person can connect you to some resources. And I think that's Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5:30. Is that right, Steve? Okay. And then lastly is I have our breathing exercise. I found this on, I think it's Green Child. It's a guided meditation. Okay, Steve, great. So Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. All right, so I'm going to read this script. Try to relax if you can. Sit with your feet planted on the floor and your hands on your legs or to the side. You can close your eyes if you're comfortable, but you don't have to. This script is written by Melissa Dormoy. Okay. Take in a deep breath and close your eyes. I'm going to count down from 5 to 1, and when I get to 1, your whole body will feel very heavy and deeply relaxed. You will feel so relaxed that you will not even want to move. But just stay still and enjoy the wonderful relaxation that begins to flow into your body. 5, starting to feel the relaxation in your arms and legs. 4, your legs are starting to feel heavy. Your arms too. 3, heavier and heavier and more relaxed and comfortable. 2, more and more relaxed with each number I say. 1. Now your whole body is very heavy. Now imagine a beautiful, colorful, magic carpet underneath you. This magic carpet is rich with exquisite colors. Someone took great care and love in making this very special, magical carpet just for you. Reach down and touch the smooth texture of the brightly colored carpet. It's so soft. Now, wrap your hands around the 2 tassels that hang down in the front corners. As you do, notice the tassels tighten and stick straight up like handles. You feel perfectly safe. The magic carpet starts off softly and slowly, making sure you feel safe and comfortable. The magic carpet gently sways and sweeps up now and makes you giggle with delight. What an adventure! It takes you into the sky, higher and higher, up to the pillowy, soft clouds. It feels wonderful to be here, feeling free and completely relaxed. Look down and see the beautiful green patches below you. The trees seem to wave up at you while the wind blows them gently back and forth. You see fields and houses that look quite tiny from all the way up here. You begin to let go of any worries, any problems or difficulties, or difficult thoughts seem to vanish. You leave them all far behind as you relax and enjoy your magical carpet ride. Glide along with this carpet and know that you are in full control, going faster and faster, or perhaps slower. You choose. You can ride the magic carpet for as long as you wish, floating above or gliding down to get a better look at anything you'd like to see. When you're ready to land, take in a deep breath and glide your magic carpet back down on the ground. Stop comfortably and very gently, bringing all the wonderful, happy feelings you have back with you. Breathe in deeply and exhale fully. You've done a fantastic job of using your imagination to create this magical experience. Okay, well, that was an interesting one. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? Feel free to write in the chat box. If anyone ever has any ideas of what you would like me to present on, feel free to share. I'm always looking for new topics. And let's see. I guess that's all for today. Thank you so much for viewing. I shouldn't have any issues next week. I think I figured out why I was having technical issues. So I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you shortly. All right. Bye-bye.